Charles, we are deep in the jungle today.
I know, deep in the jungle.
This is the High Line.
In the rotten apple.
Well, I wanted to come up here today because I have vowed to not yell at anybody. And I figured up here there's less homeless people and weirdos who will accost us, hopefully.
Is that vow binding? Or is it just an aspirational vow?
It's an aspiration. I'm going to really try to not yell at anybody because I don't want to get in a fight. I don't want to get beaten up. I don't want to put you in any risk.
Good. Well, it's quite beautiful. Beautiful day, a little bit hot actually.
It's a beautiful day.
And a beautiful poster.
Yes, thank you. The fuck it list, Charles.
I mean, it really is as if the leadership of this country, the nominal leadership of this country, has just put a lid on the whole administration. It's like, I think I'll go over to Europe, and I haven't done enough damage, so why don't I really provoke Russia by trying to crimp their economy further, putting the arm on Turkey to drop their opposition to Finland and Sweden joining NATO.
They did something with the Turks.
Yeah, well, I know, they probably caved behind the scenes. And so now Russia has said if Finland and Sweden do join NATO, there will be very serious consequences, and we're rushing to do that, as it were. And then at this conference,
G7?
The G7, which frankly, I'd say, the G7, the G20, all these conferences, fuck them. We have
put it on the list.
We've got much more important things to do than send these idiots in either party around the world to have expensive meals and fancy hotels and fancy locations, and suffer the jet lag that they're going to suffer from doing it, and the dislocation for them and their staff.
Versus Zoom.
Versus getting down to the southern border and freaking closing it.
So let's just look at what we've got right here, Charles. Let's enjoy the High Line for a moment. I don't mean to distract from what you're saying because it's very important and we do need to continue to explore that. But here we have a little, oh look, Nina.
I mean, it's I think the sculpture in the background.
Yeah, we'll check that out. I've been thinking about that name Nina lately.
Nina rings a bell. Nina.
Rings a bell, exactly. She's had her baby, according to a picture on Twitter.
Does it have horned feet?
I haven't seen the baby. It just shows a cat looking into a little baby container, whatever you call that. And wow, this is weird. It's coming out of their eyes.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you remember the days of our having a water shortage? Those days must be over.
Maybe they're recycling this water.
Maybe.
Probably
using
not.
what though? I mean, they're using electricity or something.
Exactly.
So is this affecting climate change?
I don't know, but it's
odd
question. But before we get into the main thrust of the show, Charles, I realized something earlier today. I have been personally touched by abortion, and I'm kind of can't believe that I forgot about this, but I was prompted to remember it by something I just saw in the news. Kourtney Kardashian's husband, whose name is Travis, I think, Baker or Barker or something like that. He's the drummer for Blink-182, has been hospitalized with pancreatitis, which...
That's tough stuff.
It's extremely serious, and they're not quite sure what caused it. Right now, his doctors, according to the newspaper, have said that it might be due to a colonoscopy, which he had. And I mean, certainly that's possible. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not his doctor, and I haven't seen the guy and have no idea what's going on with him. But you remember I told you how the Diddle Island. Remember how I told you that my first wife had a miscarriage?
Right.
A real negative impact on our marriage. But it actually, to speak more precisely, it was an abortion.
Oh.
She had an ectopic pregnancy, which you may know is when the ovum becomes fertilized in the ovary and begins to grow, and it can't move down and become embedded in the uterine wall where the baby would grow. And it's a non-viable pregnancy that, if untreated, is deadly for the mother. So basically, shortly after we got married, there was she tested positive for baby. Right. And then that was a Thursday. And then Friday morning we woke up to really a scary amount of excessive bleeding, and we called her doctor, said go immediately to the emergency room, which we did. and they did all kinds of whatever, MRI or whatever kind of scan they did to figure this out, and said, look, this is what's happening. It's not a viable pregnancy, and there's two options. With option one being removal of the fallopian tube and ovary, which is, yes, exactly, invasive surgery that would reduce the chances of becoming pregnant in the future by 50%, something that a young mother would be very reluctant to do. And the other option they gave us was to medically terminate the pregnancy with something called methotrexate, which is a very aggressive drug that's got to be dosed based on the patient's weight.
Sure.
And it's used in chemotherapy. But for this treatment, it basically, my understanding of what I was told is that it attacks rapidly dividing cells.
Right.
So that's why they use it for cancer treatments and this. And the idea is one dose is sufficient to terminate a pregnancy that's not viable, but hopefully not as damaging as a round of chemotherapy. But again, as you well know, it's not like fixing a BMW. You're making educated guesses with this type of stuff. And the pregnancy ended. And shortly after, Tatiana suffered pancreatitis.
Oh my goodness.
That went on for months and was terrible for her, for the marriage. And anyway, I'm telling you this story because when I heard about Travis Barker, or whatever his name is, having this pancreatitis, it struck me as being weird because pancreatitis is rare in healthy people. It really is only caused by acute trauma like a car accident, or really acute, prolonged alcoholism, like people laying in the street.
That could be.
It could be, but we don't. I mean, it's not the type of thing that happens to even if you're like a functional alcoholic. It's like, you know, people who have yellow faces and jaundice from like years and years of laying in the street alcoholism. So it just struck me as kind of odd. Again, I'm not his doctor. We'll have to find out. But I did look up online a certain medical thing that they were trying to convince a lot of people to do, and pancreatitis, and sure enough, I found a study about the Pfizer version of that certain thing had been given to this guy, 46-year-old Indian man, who 2 days later suffered acute pancreatitis, and this paper was studying potential links, and again, this is all not well understood.
I don't think it's as bad as the old days when if you had a problem, you went to your surgeon, I think they called them barber surgeons, and they'd say, all right, six leeches for you.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe the leech treatment is probably more sensible than some of the modern stuff.
I don't know about that, but the point I'm making is it's just, I mean, you know the point. It's, really encouraging people to get involved in things that aren't well tested is not something I'm into.
And one of the more interesting things you just mentioned is when you discussed going to the emergency room, you used the expression, we were given the choice.
Right.
And in the debate over the Roe v. Wade decision, we learned that we men don't have any role to play in that choice.
Yeah, I mean, my take on it was, look, surgery has risks. There's going to be anesthesia, possible complications. This medical approach seemed less risky, and multiple people agreed.
Well, no, I mean, it was good that you were consulted, and you probably obviously made the correct decisions together. Therein lies one of the major failings in the framing of this whole debate on Roe v. Wade. And I think Tucker Carlson, I don't know if he talks a lot about being Christian and devout and this and that. Let's assume he is, and it doesn't really matter. It's his personal decision and his family's. But if you think about the old-fashioned days when the parents of the prospective bride and groom would be much more involved in the pairing of the kids, and they would be thinking, they tended to be known, the families tended to be known to one another, and they would have learned lessons from their own family histories. And when the time came to actually get together and get married, it was all about forming a family. It was not about, this is a self-indulgent, let's split the rent and live more cost effectively. I mean, this was about, the reason we're getting married here is because we want to start thinking of ourselves as a couple and surrender our individual existence to manage our lives together as a couple better. And if you try to explain that today to a millennial, they're like,
my body, my choice.
Exactly. Do you have any more crack? Because obviously you're enjoying yours. I mean, and really, when you see the reactions that others have put on across the spectrum, you can look at the left-wing reactions, which are hilarious at MSNBC and CNN, or look at the even on Fox. I don't think the context is being framed the way it needs to be framed. And so the reactions tend to be like spoiled brat kids who have too many toys to begin with, and the parent comes along and says, that's it, I paid for those toys, these are mine. And the kid just goes, forgetting that we're talking about toys. In the case of actual toys, these are playthings.
Right.
You know, the decision to get in a serious relationship with somebody should be much more important than a discussion of toys.
Right. This is your favorite apartment building, Charles, and somebody in there is turning 30. They sent me a thing in the mail. These apartments are like millions. 6 million, I think, is the lowest.
So you got 3 of them?
I don't know.
Last week?
None.
I mean, as we're standing here walking, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a nice walk. I'm enjoying the walk.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I mean, the High Line itself is great.
And it's a different part of the city, and it's actually, as far as exercise is concerned, walking is pretty good for you.
It's quieter up here, and we've got trees, so maybe they're scrubbing the air a little bit.
Well, and you're away from the buses and the exhaust down on the street level,
right.
And of course, your favorite friends, the Bum of the Day Club.
You know, the other thing I wanted to tell you, Charles, is that this was a really exciting victory for me. You and I had discussed this previously, that I was restoring Sunday with Charles, and Charles Ortel is closing in episodes to the Sunday with Charles YouTube channel, which if people are watching this video right now, somewhere other than that, please subscribe to Sunday with Charles.
Please do.
On YouTube. But so I wanted to restore an episode that we did on September 12th, 2018 called Get Trumpy.
It's a great one.
It's a great one, and I've been looking for it for over a year. I back up all the episodes, but you know, I am not infallible. And in the process of restoring these old shows, this one, I couldn't find it in any of my backups. I couldn't find it online. I couldn't find it on Vimeo. I couldn't find it on BitChute or any of those. And I found it, Charles. It was quite an effort.
It's called persistence.
Indeed. And it's been restored. People can watch it on rumble.com, on odyssey.com, and of course subscribers on patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth can see it right now. I hope that people will subscribe to some of those alternative platforms. And you know, the reason I didn't put it on YouTube, Charles, is that we're talking about a bunch of stuff that in 2018 was okay, but I'm concerned today it might be verboten and could get the channel.
Yeah. Well, that time frame, September 12th, 2018, that was just about the time that I was contacted by Shelby Halliday.
Indeed.
And they were trying to sell the Fable and to get the FBI and others convinced that I was the person who had provided the money, in theory, to Peter Smith so that he could go try to get the damning information, damning Hillary Clinton emails. And
that's the fairy tale bureau of investigation.
Yes, right, of diddling and a failure to investigate. But so that date, September 12th, that we really went from memory. I haven't seen it since then. I just remember the poster was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I remember we got right into other elections.
Exactly.
That may have been rigged.
Oh.
Around the world, not simply here.
Yes. And actually, you talk about Egypt and a bunch of different places. I mean, it's very interesting.
Right. It happens. One of the first foreign job that I ever had, and it wasn't that serious, was in a car factory in Egypt.
You said that in the video, and I didn't remember you telling me that, and I want to hear more about that. What the hell were you doing in a car factory?
Not much.
And what cars do they make in Egypt?
It was a Fiat factory, but what it was, this is 1975, and here we have the ballerina cousin of the Japanese dirty lady.
Oh my God.
Let's get past this.
You don't want some
No.
Malai coffee?
No. In point shoes, even.
This is not your style.
No.
This is a holdover from Sunday.
Ridiculous. So, anyway, so there's something called ISEC, AIESEC, which is a French acronym. And what it is college chapters around the world solicit locally. So in New Haven, I had to go to local businesses with the people who ran ISEC and say, please, would you give a job, an internship for a foreign student? And if you raise a job, then you get the right to receive a job. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but the Egyptians were crooked as hell and desperate to get their university students out of the country to earn hard currency. So they invented all these jobs. And that's not what we did. We got this person, I think, a job from memory at Saab Motor Company, which had a big headquarters building, I think, in America, not far from New Haven. So,
what were you doing in the car factory?
So I just get word that I've got this job, and I'll get to the car factory. And this is in the days when you had to go. There was no jet bridge at Cairo Airport, and like an idiot.
That had to be hot getting on the plane.
Well, I was always taught that you should dress well when you fly, and if you do, maybe they'll upgrade you. So I'm wearing a suit.
Oh my God!
In July.
100.
And I'd flown New York, Amsterdam, and then layover. I remember I need to use the men's room. I go into the men's room, and I come out, and this woman starts screaming at me because I didn't have to give her a tip. She's just sitting there in a chair in front of the men's and the women's room. I didn't have any Dutch money, so I mean,
wow.
Anyway, so then I get off the plane, and it's one of the, I don't know if you've ever gone from a nice environment to like 110 degrees in the baking sun with like no shift change.
5 minutes ago when I left the apartment.
No, 110 is a lot different.
You're right. It is. This is only about 85.
Yeah.
Maybe 90.
So I get out, and I'm thinking, all right, what's
What is that?
It's a whirling dervish.
That's what I was going to say, but it's not. What is a whirling dervish? This is some kind of artistic tornado. So you get out of the bathroom, the woman.
I'm now through the bathroom. Windy, it says. I'm through the bathroom.
I understood a different meaning for that. Bill Clinton would appreciate
That's from Morocco.
Huh. Rabat, 1988.
He was born there, he or she.
Oh. Okay, so you come out of the thing.
So I come out I get off the plane in Cairo, and I have to walk probably as far as here to that tan building on the right.
Sorry, say again, from here to...
From here to that tan building on the right, not the brown one, but tan. And by the time I get to the entrance of this terminal, this building, I'm taking a shower in my own sweat. I mean, I'm just drenched.
And you're about to take an hours-long fight.
No, I've arrived in Cairo. Arrived in Cairo. Off the plane, baking hot. I get towards the terminal, and I realize it's like an amphitheater with maybe 8 or 9 or 10 floors, and all these jubilant women are excited that their husbands, their brothers, whatever are there, and they're doing that thing. I can't do it. Yeah, exactly. It's called ululating, and they're doing all this stuff, and it stinks, and it's and I've got to go in to get through customs, which I managed to do, and I got to get a taxi and try to go to this specific place, and they say that's the place, and I get out, and I don't recognize anything. Everything's in Arabic, which I can't read, and I'm 19.
It's not a good day.
And this guy just sees that I'm a little disoriented, and he says, "Are you here for the ISEC program?" I said, "Yes, come with me."
Wow.
So,
good thing he didn't kill you.
He's from Canada. He was a foreigner, and
good thing he didn't indoctrinate you into communism.
So he says exactly. So this is 1975. So he takes me to a place where a bunch of the other people are staying, and we stayed at the he puts me in. He's staying at this place called the Anglo-Swiss Hotel. And the Anglo-Swiss Hotel was, just a 6-story hotel, simple hotel, old-fashioned hotel. And he said, let's go to dinner now. We go to this hole-in-the-wall place. He says, I'll do the ordering. And he starts saying, my friend over here will have the fool. I said, whoa, I'm not having fool. What do you think I have? Anyway, it wasn't bad.
What is that?
It's some kind of, I don't know, fried dish, or I forget what it was exactly. It was perfectly fine. And
probably lamb.
And then we went back. To the hotel, and somebody sent out one of these, young servant type people to go get us a bottle of rum, and we sat there playing.
But isn't booze illegal?
Not in Egypt. And we sat there playing cards and talking smack and drinking rum and Coke, with Delta rum. And so the next morning, I awake to the sound of the proprietor of the hotel is this woman screaming at the top of her lungs, Ahmed! She's looking for somebody who was supposed to be there but was still asleep.
Oh, God.
And I stumble out of there. They explain how I'm supposed to get to the factory. And they say, listen, when you get to the center, it's like not a subway, it's like an L, from the center of Cairo where I was out to the outskirts. Don't be put off by the way in which you have to buy tickets. There's going to be a mob scene. Just hold on to your wallet and stick your hand through the window, and eventually you'll get a ticket.
What?
So I do that.
It's like the challenge in Flash
Well,
Gordon.
and then it gets funnier. Then they say, now listen, when the train comes into the station, again, don't be put off by the fact that people inside the train are, if they can't jump through the door before it stops, they're going to jump through the windows.
What?
So watch out for the people jumping out of the train,
and then
you have to jump in the train.
It's like a video game.
It's a lot of work. But anyway, so I get there.
A real life version of Pitfall.
So then I get there, and the first day is nice enough, and they, put me into a room, and they give me nothing to do, and then they say, would you like some tea? And I have some tea, and nobody to talk to, and then eventually
this is at the car factory.
Yeah, nothing. They invented a job. I had nothing to do, and so then it was kind of like working in government.
Yeah.
And so I get my first paycheck a number of days later,
and nothing.
No, they give me a paycheck, but they'd taken tax out. And back in this regime, in 1975, if you made less than a certain amount of money as a student in America, you got no taxes taken out of your paycheck other than Social Security. And there was like a protocol with a lot of countries, including Egypt. I wasn't supposed to get tax taken out.
Uh-huh.
So I thought about that. I took the cash. I went and talked to the head of ISEC in Cairo, and I said, what's the story here? I'm not supposed to get any tax taken out of my paycheck. And the guy said, no, that's absolutely not right. I said, how many people are working in this car factory? I asked the guy. And he said, about 20, 25. It's all right.
25?
Yeah, a lot of students from around the world.
Okay, but
or interns, many more than 25.
Right.
But so
Right.
so I go to my boss the next day, and I say, I need to speak to you. What about? He said, well, we probably should talk about this outside. Oh, okay. So listen, I said, you got a very simple choice to make. All right, tomorrow you're going to come to Cairo. We'll meet at the Nile Hilton. You're going to give me my tax back. You're going to give me my pay for the entire summer. You're going to give the money back, the taxes back, to every other ISEC student.
Wow.
And I'm going to come see you the day before I leave Egypt to say goodbye. But I want my pay immediately.
This is like a scene from The Charles Father.
I got it.
What did the guy say? You're right.
Yeah,
you made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Exactly. And so,
well done.
So then I spent the summer traveling around Cairo and Egypt, and
but you never built a Fiat.
I didn't come close to an assembly line.
Maybe you could go work for Tesla.
It was not for me. That's interesting.
Yeah, garbage collection down there.
But yeah, 1975. It was actually quite a fascinating time period to be there, because it's 2 years, roughly less than 2 full years after the 1973 war.
But when did they assassinate Anwar Sadat?
79. So this is 75, and the English there, Cairo is actually a very sophisticated, or was then a very sophisticated city, and thought to be one of the intellectual capitals of the Middle East, if not the world, because they have Al-Azhar University, which is ancient. So in terms of Muslim studies, really advanced library and history, and the thinking coming out of that university is widely revered around the Middle East. And then you have, it has English connections and French connections and German connections. At the time they were close to Russia. And it's obviously a very interesting touristic place with the pyramids and all that kind of Sphinx and other things to do. So there was a lot to learn there. But every day the English language newspapers would refute the Western coverage of what had happened in the 67 war and the 73 war, or whatever the first war was. And they would challenge the orthodoxy of the Western point of view, pro-Israel point of view. And then there are many exiles actually from various countries living various places, including where I spent the bulk of the summer, the American University in Cairo. And after the meals, these people who were ancient, 45 probably back then, would take us aside, all the foreigners, and say, now listen, we need to explain what really is happening in the Middle East. And all we wanted to do was go to another nightclub, but we would have to
like
listen.
These people, they look like students. What are they studying?
Not much.
Their phones and the Hudson Yards.
You want to go that way or that way?
Well, I don't know. Where would you like to go? I just sort of wanted to begin our walk there on the... let's see what's going on in here.
Sure.
And then we can, decide wherever we want to go. We've been here a number of times, but it is a...
But just continue on Egypt. So I've been back to Egypt a number of times since then, and now I wouldn't go, given the instability and given the knife's edge that the world economy is on.
Right.
But Egypt is heavily overpopulated. It doesn't have really enough water. It certainly doesn't have enough water to sustain mass production of food.
That sounds like a problem.
It's a big problem. That said, I mean, some of the most stunning landscapes I've ever seen.
And Mohammed Morsi played an important role with the Clinton Foundation, and when he said he was going to expose, I just reloaded this morning, Get Trumpy, you were talking about his possible role in Benghazi. You mentioned that nothing's going to be broadcast on Egyptian TV without Morsi's approval or his government's approval.
Right. So what happened was, because it was one of my first trips to a country as a young adult, I've continued to follow Egyptian affairs. I liked my time over there. I liked the subsequent trips I went to Egypt, mostly vacation. But I was writing for the Washington Times, and I had explicitly noticed Uma Abedin's role. If you remember, Chuck Grassley was demanding to understand how it was that Uma Abedin could be a special government employee, simultaneously working for the Clinton family personally, for the Clinton Foundation, for Teneo, and for the State Department. So collecting 4 paychecks at once, and going into this role in June of 2012, which is almost precisely when Morsi was when he was elected president. And Morsi vowed, I think it was the night, depends where you are on the planet, but I think our time, either the night of the 29th or the night of the 29th our time, I think the night of the 30th maybe, Egyptian time, Morsi gave this speech in Arabic where he said his first priority was to get the blind sheikh freed from prison.
And for people who don't know, that was the guy who was associated with the 1993 World Trade Center bombing at a mosque in Jersey City.
Right. And
he died not long ago, right?
Right. And I had been making a continuing issue of all that because the first time I got on Fox News was with Neil Cavuto in 2012. I want to say it was around the time of the President's Day vacation, roughly. And I had written a piece for the Washington Times saying, just gutting the Obama re-election argument, which was at the time GM is alive and Osama is dead. And I basically flipped it around and said the opposite, and that got me on Fox News talking about it for 2 segments. And so I was really actively noticing what was going on with all that. This way?
Well, let's just go in through here and see what's going on.
And so it struck me as extremely odd that, this is, remember, before Benghazi, it struck me as extremely odd that a person like Uma Abedin, whose mother founded the equivalent of the Muslim Brotherhood, the Muslim Sisterhood, I think is the way it was translated, that this, first of all, that Uma would be able to get any kind of security clearance, it baffles me. But second, that she would be in the role she was in, again, working for the Clinton Foundation right into 2013, so through the election and for these other operations. Then we layer on top of that, I think by the time we did the Get Trumpy stuff, definitely we had seen the Podesta WikiLeaks emails, and in there, there's talk of missing laptops at the CGI 2012, and all sorts of scheduling snafus, including what had happened was to showcase the brilliant work of President Obama and Secretary of State Clinton, and by brilliant I definitely mean more than just air quotes. This election of Morsi was thought to be this massive victory. And so Morsi knew that, and Morsi knew that he had a lot of leverage, is my theory, over Obama in the re-elect campaign. So somehow the idiots at the Clinton Foundation think it's a good idea to offer Morsi the chance to be the keynote speaker at CGI 2012 in New York in September of 2012, right before the election.
Wow.
So where's all
September what?
In the 20s, roughly.
So that was after Benghazi.
After Benghazi, exactly. And so where are all the emails that must have been flowing back and forth? The Egyptians are demanding this. If you want Morsi to speak, he's going to have to get this and that and the other. None of those
green M&Ms, that kind of stuff.
That kind of stuff, exactly. So we haven't seen any of those, which means that most likely there still are missing emails that are not personal, relating to Hillary Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State and chief international fuck-up artist. So,
but Charles, doesn't that also speak to the motivation to perhaps create a false story with Peter Smith having 33,000 emails that could be planted on him and trying to get you interested in it even though you weren't?
Maybe. I mean, again, Peter Smith discussion on emails started in 16.
But Hillary knew she had an email problem. And their number one, this takes us to our what's-her-name Hutchinson part of the conversation, because Trump has come out today on Truth Social, which I still have a lot of problems with as a social media platform, but we'll talk about that later. Trump says it's completely untrue.
It's absurd.
That it wouldn't be possible to grab the steering wheel in the way that she's describing. The Secret Service has come out and said that it's untrue, and I agree with what you said earlier before we went live, that I think they've overplayed their hand to a point that they're hurting the credibility of the commission. But the reason why this ties into what I'm trying to kind of put together with Peter Smith is that Trump made a point of saying that this woman, what's her first name?
Cassidy
Hutchinson had requested to continue working for Trump in Mar-a-Lago, and we see that certain people from Washington did go with him, and he said that he personally declined to have her there, and if he's asking now today, if Trump is so terrible, why the hell did she want to come work for him? I think the answer to that question is she was a plant.
Well,
and I think Peter Smith was too.
Right. Well, I don't know about that, the Peter Smith thing. Maybe, maybe not. But she certainly was. And just on when I heard the story, I didn't even know it was a woman at first. I thought it might have been a guy. Not that it makes a difference, and I'm not a biologist.
Exactly.
But
there's Elon Musk.
When I heard the story that, in theory, a president of the United States sitting by definition in the back of the limo would have somehow tried to put his hand on the steering wheel, I knew right away that person had never been inside a limo. I mean, I've been. I mean, not about bragging. I actually don't like limos at all. But Trump is bigger than I am, and I know that if you're in the sitting back, let's say with a seatbelt on, which you probably should be, and if you're in the presidential limo, given that you might be attacked. It's a no mean feat.
Well, he's never fitting through that window.
Well, forget about getting to the window. Let's say you're sitting here, Jason, and let's say I'm going to guess it's probably at least, let's say it's to here. So I'm sitting here, my feet are here, right? How am I going to reach that steering wheel?
To grab the steering wheel?
There's no way. Not to mention, I've got to get up, and I can't stand up in the limo. So
how are you going to control the car?
It's
the
ridiculous.
whole thing is just stupid on its face.
It's ridiculous. Well, the January 6th committee is stupid on its face.
Yes, and it's been exposed now. Look at this. It's like a townhouse all the way over here, kind of alone.
Yeah, it must be pretty windy. Let's see. That's going to be noisy. So maybe
no, let's head this way. But I agree with your assessment of the stupid limousine accusation. But will they now, have they said if they will or will not have these Secret Service agents testify? I mean, they almost need to. If somebody has made this claim, we need the Secret Service agent who is named to confirm or deny it.
Multiple people have said it's bullshit already. And I think this is another example of what the mainstream can do when they want to push a narrative very hard. Headlines, we might pass a newsstand, we'll look at the New York Times headline, but headlines are screaming, lead stories are screaming, news hours anchors are screaming. We finally got him, this is serious. Even Brett Baer yesterday said, look, Cassidy was under oath, so we ought to take this seriously. And we all understand, it's just like, if you don't get that no new gun law is going to deter a criminal, other than if we catch you with a gun, we're going to execute you on the spot. That might stop somebody. But short of that, you write whatever you want. You can write a 7,000-page compendium of regulations, and you're not going to stop an inveterate criminal from trying to get an illegal gun, particularly if that person lives in a neighborhood where everybody has an illegal gun.
You can't even stop them from riding the skateboard. Charles, do you see what I see? We could test out your theory on the Weed World limo. Let's go try to grab the steering wheel. And
we won't grab it, but we'll walk by it.
Wow, Weed World is moving up.
Yes, they're styling.
When did they get a Weed World limo?
It must be Hunter, must be the celebrity spokesperson.
Should we go? I mean, obviously, they're in the luxury lane. They're paying for gas. Let's see how much gas is over here.
It's not cheap.
This is nuts. The Weed World limo. Why do they need a limo?
Awful paint job. Makes you think that the stuff is fairly priced.
I mean, they're basically taken over the weed. Oh man, $649, $699 for premium. I wonder, Weed World is filling up with 97?
There's somebody in there.
There's nobody in there.
There is somebody.
Oh, it's got a lot of tickets on it. They don't care.
But yeah, you can see. You see from this is where the president would be sitting, right? And you can see the distance from where the president would be sitting.
That's a very long arm,
and
Charles.
he doesn't have, he may have small hands, but he doesn't have long arms. I don't think.
They're going by the metric system.
The what?
3.5s.
Whatever that is.
That's an eighth, but
let's
I guess they're appealing to the European customers. Look, we have a Morgan here. Or is it an MG?
No clue.
So that's a lot.
So go this way,
$669, sure. A lot of money for gas here in New York City, Charles.
Right. But air is free, even though it's not free. You got to, I think, it used to be a quarter. I don't know what it is now.
Huh.
So
it's probably weed coming out of there.
So back though on this get Trumpy thing, to understand, and this is what I told the FBI in December or whatever it was, 2018, finally when I met with them, to understand 2015 and 16, you've got to understand what it is that the Clintons were so deathly afraid of, and what the Obamas were so deathly afraid of. You can't spend a lot of time over in the weed worlds, the weeds world. You gotta go right into the kitchen, and understand what sort of weeds are being boiled in your kitchen. And what they were concerned about, I'm very sure, is what the FBI had on file, what operatives in both parties knew about the Bush family, about Iran-Contra, about the Clintons, about what Bill and Hillary had been up to their entire lives, about Obama, about his history and his vulnerabilities. All that stuff, I think, there was a Faustian bargain was made, where I believe, this is my supposition, that the Bush family, the Clinton family, the Obama family, and others said, all right, we're all exposed here, and we all understand at one point or another the other side's going to be in control, so let's just not go there.
Let's just get in the shade while we're waiting.
Let's not enter.
I think it's talking about cars going there.
No, I know. I'm just saying, let's not enter a discussion, like do not enter there.
Yeah.
Over what was really going on with Iran-Contra. Because, Bill in his book, My Lies, or My Lice, he talks about the fact that the Bush operatives threatened him as a governor. He specifically alleges in the book that when he was contacted, he had been doing work, and he actually, unlike Hillary, who's out there with Eva Peron and the various communists around the world, Bill was a centrist. I mean, much more of a centrist, yeah. And so he had been doing work with a Republican counterpart governor to try to fix education, public school education, and he'd done it in league with, or under the watch of George H.W. Bush. And so he'd gotten close to senior Bush education-related policy advisors, and he developed a certain friendship, and they got some things accomplished. And he writes in the book that this person he knew in the White House called him up and said, hey, Bill, are you going to run for president in '92? And Bill said, well, to his telling, I'm not sure, I haven't made up my mind. And this, according to Bill, this Bush person said, listen, run in '96, but if you run in '92, we're going to destroy you, we're going to destroy your family, we're going to come hard. Don't do it. This is what Bill claims in his book.
Yeah, I think that's a lie.
I don't know. It's certainly, there are many accounts of what Hillary did, the people around Hillary did, including Daniel Halper's book and the movie he did, where in 2007, before that, Democrats were told by Hillary Clinton operatives, listen, you know what happens when a Clinton's in the White House and you buck us. So it's Hillary's turn, it's right here, it's Hillary's turn, and don't make the mistake of challenging. It's more or less the same speech that Clinton alleges Bush operatives may have made to him. So,
yeah, that sounds like a lie to me.
Well, okay, be that as it may. The point is that we're going back into this 2018 thing, and thinking back over the 15-16 cycle and its aftermath. It's very clear from the record already, without getting to the missing emails that we're going to see eventually.
Will we?
Of course. Eventually this shit comes out. People die, they leave records. And just as you found with Get Trumpy. I mean,
that wasn't an accident. That was a very concerted effort.
I'm just saying, eventually.
Should we continue uptown a little bit?
You tell me. You're the
Let's take
maestro.
The temperature in Times Square. It works a little bit against my plan to not yell at anybody, but I'll try very hard. Please continue. We got a new weed store here, Charles.
You need to stop by and do some inventory management?
That's all right.
All right. Okay.
Young Clouds.
Good.
It's open and raw.
It's like this friend of mine, I'm not going to reveal his name, client comes into town, and the client says, I really want to go to a steakhouse and go to a strip club. And this unnamed person said, well, I'm a family man, and I
don't eat steak.
I have many daughters and a loving wife, and I'm happily married, and I would never do that. So the client pushes and pushes. They have the dinner. They go to the strip club. The guy walks in the front door. The guy who said he never does it, and the proprietor of the strip club is, "Hey, great to see you again."
Exactly.
That kind of thing. Yeah. So back on this 15-16, then we know that the Clintons pioneered the concept of the perpetual campaign.
We're getting a huge amount of static here.
Of the perpetual campaign when he was governor, maybe even beforehand when he was Attorney General. But this idea that you don't just run during the election, you constantly are running.
Right.
And you have a war room. They're the first who came up. There's even, I think, a book or a movie called War Room, or both. So we know that's the way they think generally, that they like to have, that's interesting. Raisins.
Yeah, what is going on here? This is like a raisin murder scene. Put tape around that.
What did you say?
I said it's like a raisin murder scene. He's got to put tape around it. That actually did look like he was on the phone doing business because he had a police report in his hand.
Right, probably trying to find the person who stole the raisins. He
Exactly.
stole 7 packs of raisins. Raisin in the sun. Anyway, so in 1516, the Clintons certainly had thought through who was going to run, both which Democrats and which Republicans, and if independents would run. And they had a plan for every one of them. And I think when
To take them out, you mean?
Yeah. And I think they naively, frankly, and foolishly thought that Donald Trump would be the easiest to beat.
I think that's been said, that they thought that.
Yeah, but so, and because they knew they had his long, I mean, if you go back over Trump's early career when he was a playboy forward, I mean, it's a good thing he doesn't drink or do drugs.
Oh, yeah.
Because he probably would not be alive if he did.
I agree.
But he certainly was in the middle of very questionable
People.
non-family man behavior, let's
A
just
lot
put it that
of
way.
pictures with Epstein and Ghislaine.
Right, may she rest in prison.
Without a video
So
camera.
what's interesting, though, I started doing this for my writing. I looked at it before, but I started writing about it. And I went and I plucked out the indictment, or actually it was a special motion to dissolve the Trump Foundation, which came out. It's up on the...
I put the link in the description for people to be able to read it.
It's good to read the press release, and in the press release you have a link to the actual the document. And you go through what they allege about the Trump Foundation. They're basically saying that it was a slush fund for personal enrichment and political advancement, and that its paperwork wasn't right, and on and on and on. And I sent a tweet out saying, just mark this up for the Clinton Foundation.
Exactly, it's a Mad Libs.
But I didn't say on the tweet, and I'll say now, at least, bad as the papers and the facts may look for the Trump Foundation back in 2000, well, the investigation started in June 2016. Bad as the facts looked, at least the Trump Foundation actually existed and had articles of incorporation and bylaws and was validly, in theory, tax exempt. That was definitely not the case of the Clinton Foundation. In June 2016, that's just precisely when Assange, June 10th, I think it was, maybe 12th, roughly, 2016, Assange gives an interview to an Australian media outfit saying, I have information on Hillary Clinton that will put her in prison.
Or was it Dutch? Wasn't that guy Dutch?
No, he may have been Dutch, but it was an Australian channel.
More like...
So this is, before the 15th of June, that story comes out. Meanwhile, I had done, by June of 2016, working with a variety of people, I had done a large number of interviews, and people had done exposés on all the different angles. Is that yours?
Well, no, White Castle is having a fashion sale. What is going on here?
I think White Castle is out of business.
Well, I mean, the food smells like body odor. Have you ever been in there?
50 years ago, I went into one day.
It's not a good thing. Oh man, this lighting store is out of business.
Maybe they're just restocking this.
I used to buy my old 21st century 3D office is like 2 blocks down from here, and we used to get a lot of stuff at that lighting place.
Yeah. So
2016.
By June of 2016, that's when I had begun to get major league traction. I had the first Zero Hedge story featuring my work in detail came out early in May 2016. The mainstream media started picking up my concerns. Now Peter Schweitzer had done his Clinton Cash thing in 2015. That was getting a lot of play. Jerry Corsi had finished his book. It was published in June of 2016. And we had done the Clinton Inc. movie, Dan Halper's movie about that. had been shot. It was set for release in late June. It actually released to a very modest open, and it was supposed to go to a large number of screens, and somebody, I think, just said,
Pulled the plug. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can do that pretty easily.
So I find it very interesting that the Attorney General of New York would drop this bomb of a suit or launch this investigation, making ultimately referrals to the IRS and the Federal Election Commission and I think the FBI beginning in June of 2016, but that the FBI, which had opened multiple investigations into the Clinton Foundation, again in January of 2016, couldn't connect the obvious dots. I mean, if you're going to dissolve the Donald Trump Foundation and dictate that anyone involved with that could never be allowed to be with charities, you know, the entire Clinton family should be in a gulag.
Yep.
And so if I were involved with a real investigation of the Clinton Foundation, of what happened back, really all the way back to 2001, I'd want the clearance. I want it to be a federal investigation, and I'd want the right and the money to go back and study the communications, if any, back and forth between the Attorney General of New York and the staff that was going after the Trump Foundation. When did they decide to drop the bomb on the Trump Foundation? Was it around the same time that Loretta Lynch's people of the Department of Justice were telling the FBI, you can investigate the Clinton Foundation all you want, which it's never going to prosecute them. It's right before the tarmac meeting of Loretta Lynch, where they talked about grandchildren, that my theory, that Loretta Lynch was never going to see again if she didn't do the right thing.
So ask them how long their limo is. Can you reach the front?
Yeah. You might want to use your hands, which you may not have for much longer.
This has got to be new. This is a new pawn shop, Charles. Gem Pawnbrokers.
I don't think I've ever been inside a pawnbroker. Maybe I have, but...
No, that's new.
Okay.
And pawn shops showing up is generally not a good sign of economic prosperity.
Yeah. Well, if there's a Western Union station and a bail bondsman right there, you know you're in
bail bonds, exactly.
And
whenever I used to
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven is not quite as bad, but whenever I would go on location, you know, if they gave us a hotel in a neighborhood with a lot of bail bonds places, I was like,
that's not happening.
This is not so good. It's happening.
Let's go this way.
I don't think I ever told you the story about one of the hotels they put me in when we did The Great Doctor in Korea.
I think you might have, but let's tell it again.
Dildo vending machine in the hallway.
It was useful.
It was it was the first time I've ever been in a hotel where I was like, should I get into this bed?
Well, what do you think? I mean, think about the inventor of the dildo vending machine. I mean,
some Korean dude.
What a twisted life that person must have.
Like, if only I could access a dildo now with the convenience of...
Imagine the pitch, the venture capital pitch.
Picture, Charles,
I know.
a dildo vending machine.
That's right.
It's like a regular vending machine, except instead of sodas and chips, you got dildos.
Yeah, and it's just standard. You know, every traveler and the...
Yeah, the pitch isn't going well, Charles.
Yeah, I'll hook up with the Hilton Awards program and the Marriott Bonvoy, and I'll get their mailing list, and we'll do a survey of how many people want to buy a dildo out of a dildo machine.
I mean, the irony was, the following day, we stayed at that hotel because we were getting on this boat to go to Jeju Island. God, this was such a weird experience. The boat, it was sort of like take a very, very small cruise ship and gut it. And have on the top floor sort of like a shopping mall food court, except in Korea. So all the food is like freeze-dried, flattened fish. And then the whole rest of the boat is like rooms where you walk in and it's like 100 Korean people with their shoes off and a bunch of bare, stinky feet sitting in a room.
Smoking.
No, they weren't smoking, but this is a story for another day. I got drawn into a dinner with the director and the cinematographer, and they didn't speak English and I didn't speak Korean. It was so weird. But the following night I stayed in one of the nicest hotels I've ever stayed in on Jeju Island, which is this kind of like Korean They say it's the Hawaii of Korea.
Is that, did they typecast you? Jedi Jew?
No, I wasn't in the movie. That movie was called Great Doctor.
This guy from New York, he's Jewish. You like Star Wars?
Jeju Island.
You like Star Wars?
Jedi Jew. We just missed a meta ad.
Yeah.
But anyway, so people in the comments were saying that Brett Baer said that Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony was bigger than Watergate, and some other idiot said she might be the next John Haldeman, except the only problem is she's not a lawyer, she wasn't the White House counsel, and she doesn't appear to know anything.
Right, and all the predictable morons, Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward and all John Dean and all these people are out saying, this is bigger than Watergate, he's going to be indicted, the grand jury's next.
No, he's not.
Finished, I know.
Actually, you just reminded me of something. The story that said that she was like John, who was the other guy? Haldeman, and who was the other?
Ehrlichman. John Dean.
Yeah, no, John Dean, that's who it was. They said she's the next John Dean because he was the White House counsel and he's privy to all this stuff that Nixon is doing.
Right.
And it was Slate.com which had that article. And do you know who owns Slate.com?
No.
The Washington Post, the Graham Publishing, whatever. So, I mean, it's...
Poor guy.
Yeah. It's like when you have a... when they take like my car and put a Lincoln badge on it and a fancy clock in it, and then they charge you $20,000 more and say it's a Lincoln, but it's actually just a Ford Escape. That's what Slate is. It's a different badge on the same fake news.
Well, that's what the New York Times is. I shame on Brett Baer actually for falling for that.
Professor Hulk should not be that stupid.
Yeah.
This target is new, Charles. That was never there before.
Pronounced Target.
Yeah.
In the original French.
But here in the middle of Times Square.
Target. It is kind of busy, actually.
Well, it's summertime and
no
I
masks.
guess school is out.
Very few masks, anyway.
That woman's got one on her chin.
You would think, this is really kind of run down, but you would think that building would get torn down in some massive...
It kind of should be restored, no? Isn't it like a historic theater?
Slum?
Well, power wash it. And
yeah, but you won't have any, you could have 40 floors.
These guys are doing something here. You take a picture with the Rock.
Go in the lobby, check out the front.
Something must be wrong. They're not texting.
Sorry?
It's a police emergency. They're not
probably
texting.
Is.
Here's Santa Claus.
Yeah, I know. Doesn't need a suit in the winter.
That beard has got to raise his temperature by 20 degrees.
I think he's in a temperature-free zone. He's like...
What is the point of having this hermetically sealed bubble?
With nobody in it? Waiting for Kamala Harris.
So let's see, there was a bunch of other things that I wanted to run by you here.
Well, we could, I mentioned Kamala Harris. You saw the interview she did with Dana Bash?
You mentioned it to me, but I don't think I saw it.
It really was one of these interviews that even she must have understood went extremely badly.
Yeah.
When as I understand how these, big shit politicians operate, they can give interviews wherever they want. And if you get on the wrong side of the sitting president of the United States and you're in the news business, they could just say, listen, no Biden administration people will appear on CBS from this moment forward. And CBS can huff and puff and complain, but when NBC gets the scoops and ABC and even Fox, their viewership's going to suffer. Right. So they do agree on occasion to preconditions. In this case, I believe they agreed to preconditions. In this case, Bash wanted some answers. She was actually pretending to be a real journalist. And so she started asking things. For example, she said, inflation is really hurting a lot of people. And you said your administration said it was not a real concern. It was transitory. It's obviously not transitory. What specific steps are you taking to to remediate this inflation problem. And it's almost like she was that Dominican baseball player.
Baseball being very good to me.
Inflation been very good to me. You know,
What was that guy's name?
I forget, but it was, it was preposterous. She said, "We have said that this administration believes that inflation is a problem, and so we're focused on it."
Right.
Okay, but what specifically are you going to
Well,
do
we're
about it?
working together to focus on focusing on it together.
Yeah,
And we're going to move forward together on that focus, which we're refocusing on now. Well, let's check out the craziness.
okay. I thought we were doing that all day, but anyway.
No, this is, we're ratcheting it up here. Oh, wow, watch out for the bus.
So, and then she was asked, Dana, who's I think a lefty, was saying, look, this Roe v. Wade decision is literally going to kill people. Dana Bash and Kamala.
How do they come to that? I've heard a lot of people say that.
I'll get to it. And you're in control of the House, you're in control of the Senate, you're in control of the executive branch. Why can't you do something about it? Why can't you codify Roe? Exactly. And then she pushes further to why not the filibuster? Oh, we can't do that. That's not in our toolkit. She kept using this phrase, toolkit.
Right.
Because that's what somebody
Biden
probably
says,
told her to use that phrase, toolkit, and it sounds like it's cool. It's not like a dildo and a vending machine.
Yeah,
but
they could get
it
that.
Could be.
That would be one of her tools.
Right. Like
Stick this up the American ass.
Right. Let's go around.
That's basically what they're doing. Actually, the entire Joe Biden presidency, Charles, is a dildo vending machine.
Yeah, and
In
we're
a sense.
overpaying.
Right.
Yeah.
We've already paid. It's all the dildos you can get.
Right. That's right. Does it come with a built-in COVID test?
Probably. Stick it up your nose.
I was thinking of another place, but anyway.
Or the anal swab, right?
Right. So that interview just confirmed. It's the kind of thing where if you had, and these people have probably just been ringing the bell at NASDAQ, where we ran into people like that before.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go see what that's about. Maybe they know if Elon Musk has received the fire hose. Wait, that looks like somebody. Who is that guy with his arms crossed there?
Looks like Brett Baer, but it's not.
Those people look fancy.
Well, they've just rung the bell at NASDAQ, which is right there.
So they've had their bell rung.
Watch it, yeah. And it probably says there, which branded cities is maybe.
Is that them?
That's
Can you
probably
ask
these.
them some sensible financial questions, and we'll see what they say.
Well,
Or you're not interested?
we can, but I mean, I think they're preoccupied.
Oh yeah, that woman has got a headset
Right.
as if she's interviewing this guy. Yeah, let's leave him alone.
Yeah.
They look happy.
Sure, you go public or you list on the NASDAQ, and it can be a big deal. If you're private and you go public, your stock price can rocket up on the day. So.
Did you guys just ring the bell?
Yeah, no, they did. I mean,
They did.
He's probably security. Good for them, not me. He's definitely
That looks like the kind of guy who would crush your head with his hand.
right.
Just come here a second.
Yeah, this is the standard thing where they go public. They well, what time is it now actually?
Like about 4 o'clock.
Yeah, okay. At 4 o'clock they go and ring the bell.
Uh-oh, what's going on in here?
Let's get no. Let's stay away from that. I just don't want anyone to do
Don't want to
that.
hear what her beef is?
No,
Okay.
I don't do crazy.
Not into beef.
They're just raving lunatics. Who just want to
That
yell.
guy might be about to punch her out. So Jolly B is really.
These guys are not gonna.
They had their bells rung in a different way.
You guys got an expensive ring. Just sitting there, and the cops are just saying, "Oh, that's fine."
Busy texting.
Juggling the Tinder dates. Jason, easy. Easy.
How's it going on Tinder, fellas? They look embarrassed when I catch them on camera, so they know they're doing something they should. Oh my God, Charles.
What?
The New York Post had a story that something like
Leave it.
75 NYPD detectives have resigned out of frustration, and another 100 are slated to resign.
would
And I was speaking to John Mark Dugan earlier today.
2 more of them.
Mentioned that to him, and he used to be a Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputy, and he was talking about how serious that is, because it takes a number of years to train a detective. And so when that large of a number leave, particularly when we have so much crime surging in the city, it's a huge blow.
Yeah, that's if you care. But if Eric What Me Worry Adams off to the next conference.
He's still worried about a plant-based centered life.
Not to mention crystals.
What
Remember, he's the one who said that there's so much energy, good energy in New York. That's the guy I think who plays those pots and pans. He's pretty good at it. The reason that New York is so vibrant is the crystals that are underneath the island.
I mean, that guy should literally be having one of these blankets set up selling Louis Vuitton bags. He's an idiot.
Come on, he's our mayor. We got to treat our mayor with the respect he's deserved, like cream pie in the face. But getting back to Kamala Harris, I mean, she sends the word out. Remember, there are all these stories about staff turnover, nobody wants to work with or for her. And the counter spin is that it's a male-dominated environment, and she's not given enough authority, and she's not given, the prestige jobs that other people are getting. And I mean, she's in charge of the southern border. We had how many roasted migrants?
Oh, and they said now they put some kind of beef seasoning on them to hide the smell.
A spice, yeah.
Who the hell does that?
And ghouls.
It's like, oh man, all these people are dead. Get the barbecue sauce.
No, seriously, I'm not going to tell the precise story, but I'm aware of somebody who got involved in a deal that wasn't going well. And basically, folks in the energy business had paid in a drilling deal for the right to drill on a farmer's property. The farmer took the money and then said, fuck you can't drill.
So they tenderized them?
Well, they called up one of the guys involved, had been in the special forces or its equivalent, and he was involved raising the money for the deal. He listened to the complaint and he said to this acquaintance of mine, he said, just leave it with me. And about 2 days later, this excited, the guy who had asked for the help calls this acquaintance of mine and says, geez, what did you do? The farmer was out this morning with food for all the drillers and getting people in. And he said, I might have paid him a visit at 3 o'clock in the morning in his bedroom.
Wow.
Now, I don't condone that behavior, but...
that's another guy who made him an offer he can't refuse.
But, we do share a large border with Mexico. And my attitude, if I were, and this is why I'd never be president, I would let the word, be known in Mexico on the campaign trail. I'd say, listen, January 20th this year, we're not going to have any celebration balls. We're going to focus on reducing global warming or all that kind of stuff. It's expensive to fly people into DC and have 12 fancy balls. I'm happy to make it write it whenever you want. It doesn't have to be now, but
You might as well.
yeah. So we're not going to do any of these celebrations, and I would have probably at 1 o'clock, I would have preset the call down to Mexico, and I'd say, listen, neighbor to the south, this is the way it's going to work.
Let me tell you something.
If you can't control your side of the border and the cartels, okay, we are going to wage war against your cartel. And if we have to go in and do a root and branch restructuring of your government and of our government to get the people who are being paid off to these cartels dealt with, so be it. If people are actually dying because of fentanyl and all these drugs that are coming across into this open market. And then at my second call, I'll give you a decent amount of time to think about it, like 5 seconds.
Right.
Okay? You're either with us, joined at the hip on this, or you're not. If you're going to be part of the problem, then we'll put you on the list with my next call,
As
which
part
is
of the
going to be to
solution.
shine it. I'm going to say, listen, motherfuckers, you think you're going to be the country of the future and all this kind of stuff. We're the country of the present. And you can have your dreams and your plans and your Chinese Communist Party, but with effect, immediately, if you don't cease You don't execute the manufacturers of fentanyl immediately. You know who they are. All right. I want to see a Roman-style Colosseum, feed them to the lions.
That would be
burn
cool.
all this fucking fentanyl shindig.
But they obviously, people in our government are benefiting from it, which is why they're not doing that.
Well, I don't see how you can benefit from
Making money by selling it and allowing it to come in.
Anybody who's doing that and is in government deserves to go. I mean,
We have psychopaths.
you're going to put Ghislaine Maxwell away for 20 years at age 61. I mean, you should put these type of people, you know, and I don't know what you do to them, but you've got to set an example that we will not tolerate this anymore. And
Well,
it's a what me worry. Fuck it.
Exactly. Put it in the list. But this is what's her name? Myra Flores?
Yeah.
This is what she's talking about. I mean, she's so sensible. She's a young woman who immigrated to the United States, and she's smarter than almost anybody else I've heard in Congress, and she's been there for like a week.
Not a very high bar.
No, but I mean, she's making sense. And Nancy Pelosi, I didn't see what she said, but she apparently responded to allegations that she elbowed Myra Flores' little kid.
She's an idiot.
But she did. She shoved her out of the picture, and she's like a 10-year-old girl. At least Joe Biden wasn't there to sniff her.
Yeah, which would be worse.
Nancy Pelosi's just beating him up.
And then this complete buffoon who's the White House press secretary reacting to the issue of the roasted migrant in the.
What did she say?
She said something like, "Well, the border is closed."
What?
That's going to be the theme song. If Biden gets to campaign in 2024, it's going to be. He's got the music selected. It wasn't me. You know, let's go by Fox and see.
Sure.
Anything's brewing. Maybe we'll catch Brett on the way in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're either incredibly dumb or part of it, because to say that those proceedings were anything other than nonsense, it's not like you and I have some kind of insight that anybody else without a brain wouldn't be able to have.
Are you sure?
Well,
yeah, nice guy, cleanup service.
I mean, Brett Baer should be kind of smart, right? I mean, he looks like Professor Hulk. How did he get the job?
Well, he's a highly experienced and thoughtful journalist. But we can stand over here for a second. I think he lost the plot on that. We got taken in. You know, there's some stupid idiots. And it wouldn't be the first time that they've fallen hook, line, and sinker for stories that are wrong. I mean, they had that guy Wayne Simmons on, for example, the fake CIA guy, for 10 years. And it's possible to fool people, as we know, with Epstein and many others. Think of Rajat Gupta. He was the head of McKinsey. He was managing partner of McKinsey for 9 years. How many clients did he fool? How many governments did he fool? Right? How many boards of directors did he fool? So
a lot.
I think the moral of the story is the more outlandish the tale, the more likely it is to be untrue.
I think we could head back this way,
Sure.
maybe go through the park and everything.
Which part?
Well, Bryant Park, maybe.
Okay.
Or
Nice.
any park.
Yeah, it's nice.
So I guess they don't do the show down
Well,
in
this
here
is where they
anymore?
had the damage. They had the idiots protesting after Roe put graffiti on this and tried to, I don't know if it was these windows, but they tried to break through here. Not very successfully. There was a guy who was pretty funny, a shoe shine guy, who used to hang out right on that corner. And I was walking in to go on Fox, and I saw Seb Gorka getting his shoe shined there. It was pretty funny because what he did is the guy, he charged a lot more than you should charge. Back then, if it should have been $5, he was charging like $9 or some really high number. And he would try to humiliate you into, your shoes are ugly, they're dirty, you can't afford a shine. And he had a whole patter going. He was pretty funny.
See, Charles, I just held myself back from telling that guy to get his goddamn bicycle off the sidewalk.
It's probably
He's walking it now.
Yeah, he's probably
the vibe is going out.
That's right. Shall we stop at Chick-fil-A? You want to?
I hate
mac and cheese.
Chick-fil-A. Where is Chick-fil-A? Oh yeah. Can't stand it.
You don't have it, like-
salty,
You've
dry.
had it?
Well, somebody was nice enough to send me a Chick-fil-A gift card.
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, that's thoughtful, you know. And I have heard so much about Chick-fil-A. It's in a Ben Folds song. And I used to see it all around in Louisiana. And everybody makes a big stink about Chick-fil-A. So I figured I'll try it, and it was awful. Like, make me feel sick immediately. Kind of awful.
So you like
I just don't like junk food like that.
what junk food do you like?
Well, if I was going to have chicken like that, I would first of all figure out what they're doing. And I think they somehow brine the chicken in pickle juice, which is interesting to me. But I would brine my own chicken, and I'd get like avocado oil or something not toxic, and I'd make it myself. But that's just like some kind of fake chicken.
So you're not in the Chick-fil-A frequent buyer program?
No. But
Anyway,
thank you anyway to the person who sent the gift card. It was thoughtful.
it's like me
And it's-
thanking that girl in 8th grade, thanking the mother.
What, did you throw up on her or something?
No, I didn't do that, but you know, I had this nice weekend at summer camp.
Oh, and you got pneumonia or
You
something?
know, and I send the mother, because I'm told I have to do this, a thank you note. Dear Mrs. Cravat, thank you for a wonderful weekend. I'm writing you this note from my hospital bed.
Right.
Not just, I was being factual.
Did
And,
that family and
oh,
the tie?
she showed, no, but they're very big in the expensive window treatment business.
But isn't a cravat a tie?
Yeah,
in
no,
some
it's just,
language?
no, they're from, I think, I forget the name of the business. I met this particular girl when I was in summer camp in 1970. 69.
Those were the days, Charles.
They were.
Let's see if people have any comments for you here. People want them to sell cologne in the dildo dispenser
Oh, God.
and the condom dispenser. Yeah, I think they had condoms. It was like dildos and condoms and the type of things you would potentially use in an incredibly crappy hotel like that.
Well, it reminds me of when I went to...
Oh, careful. Yeah, that's a great idea. Speed up and hit everybody. What an asshole. And he went through the red.
He's committed, Jason. When I was trying to sell 50% interest in Ford Motor Company, in Saab Motor Company to Ford, I flew up from, I was in Paris, flew up to Stockholm, then ultimately into this smaller town, check into the hotel late at night, get into the check-in place, and it's like a diorama, it's a see-through place, and I look down, I'm like, what is that? All these gigantic beetles.
What?
And the name of the hotel was the Eck Oxen Hotel, and there's some kind of Eck Oxen beetle, which flourishes
Lives
like
there?
a big cockroach in Sweden.
What the hell do they want those in the hotel for?
I don't know.
It's the authentic experience, Charles. Your room is actually constructed of dung.
Speaking of my room, so then I go, this is cold. I go up to my room and I get off the elevator. I'm like, it's freaking cold.
That was
And,
my experience in Sweden too.
well, this particular hotel, they were in theory, another idiot going to the red light. They were in theory renovating or constructing this wing, and they thought, well, my room will be behind a wall, but across the counter will be open to the outside with no heat.
Oh
So,
my God.
you know, it doesn't work very well.
This person's just going right through a red light. I wanted to showcase for you, Charles, a young jackass wearing a mask because he's concerned about other people's safety, and then
that?
riding a skateboard on the sidewalk because he actually has no idea what he's doing and isn't concerned about anything other than himself.
What's Hunter Biden doing on a skateboard?
I don't know. What is happening with Hunter Biden? They're now saying that this phone call proves that Joe knew something about
course
the
he did.
China.
Of course he did. I mean, come on.
But I didn't get that from the phone call. I don't like it when they say that something against Joe Biden
No.
proves something, and then I hear
Joe
it
is
doesn't.
no. Joe was saying, has been said many different occasions, I do not discuss business with Hunter. I
Right.
do not discuss my son's business dealings. And so that was a phone call where he was leaving a voice message for Hunter.
But he's just saying that some news story
No,
came out.
about Hunter Biden's business connections with a Chinese military figure. It was alleging details of this business. So in order to say that you're in the clear, you would have to be familiar with the details of Hunter's business, right? And that's what he was saying. I've read the story, and you don't have a problem. Well, how can you say that if you don't know what Hunter was actually doing? So I think it was very damning, actually.
I just feel like Joe could say, I don't know what I'm talking about, and you'd be like, that's actually true.
You don't get away with that. The stupid defense does not work.
For him, it's pretty compelling.
Although I'm aware, I'm not going to say who the guy was. There was an employee at Dillon Reed who was rich and stupid and got involved in a hostile takeover in the UK and mounted the defense that he was dead to rights wrong. And his lawyers used the argument that, well, you got me. I was in the room. Yes, I heard that. Yes, I said that. But I was too stupid to understand what we were talking about. And he got off.
Wow.
That's the
amazing.
UK.
Well, speaking of hostile takeovers, Charles, we really don't know what's going on with Elon Musk and Twitter. I noticed yesterday that the Wall Street Journal, there's a dog in a backpack. The Wall Street Journal was the only news outlet reporting that Twitter has, according to them,
Yes. So again, with all this stuff,
given Musk the fire hose.
well, with all this stuff that you read in any publication, no matter how well connected or reputable, you need to understand. The audience needs to understand that during a takeover, there's some information which has to be kept confidential.
Right.
Reporters are free to ask people involved with the deal, if they can find them, any kind of question they want. And the people involved in the deal should understand, if they're professionals, what they can and can't say. And we had a policy where I worked that you just did not speak to the press, full stop. So,
well, everything they were saying was like, from people close to the deal and people who should know.
This reporting of people close to the deal is like people who should not be talking but may be close to the deal tell you, hey, you can't waste a lot of energy on wondering about
well,
that.
Well, the reason I'm intrigued by this is that we're now past a week where Elon Musk has said nothing on Twitter, and it's just a little bit unusual for him,
right?
Particularly.
I take that, but what I'm trying to tell you is that if people want to follow the Twitter deal, the way to do that is to go into the SEC Edgar file, which is a publicly available thing, and punch in TWTR, and you'll get a list of anything that's in the public domain. You read that. That's stuff that definitely went out from the company that you are allowed to know about. Rumor about what people are going to do, speculation, it's just rumor and speculation. It may be founded on fact, it may not. More likely than not, it's not founded on fact. And taking a gigantic step back from all that, this thing started over 2 months ago.
April 25th.
Right, and there's more than enough money, I think, circling around the deal, saying that they want to perfect the deal. So why hasn't it closed? I mean, why isn't there a cash merger offer document, or if it's going to be a tender offer document? In that document, it'll tell you, there's a great section of those documents, it's called background of the transaction, or they might say background of the merger. And it has to recite the entire history of this deal. The public has a right to know. And so it shows you, it'll tell you when the deal first was surfaced as an idea, how the negotiations took shape, who was involved.
Nina Jankowicz got her underpants in a bunch 2 days after and announced the Disinformation Governance Board.
I don't know that it'll get into that, but it'll get into anything having to do with Twitter itself and this cash merger deal.
Well, the reason why I found the article in the Wall Street Journal interesting is that they went and spoke about certain kind of conceptual ideas that I think were accurate, because they were saying that they had data analysts who they were speaking to who weren't necessarily involved, but just said that based on the nature of the data and how, I mean, if people read that story in the Wall Street Journal, it helps you understand how this is Twitter perpetuating a trick, basically, where they have so much data there that can be looked at in so many different ways, and the definition of what a bot is, what an author. If I have a Jason Goodman account and a Crowdsource the Truth account and a 21st Century 3D account,
right,
and a Sunday with Charles YouTube channel account, you know, are those legitimate accounts? Yes, no. Are they unique accounts? Are they monetizable? What, it's, you know, it's a complicated question to be answered.
Well, they have an answer, and I mean, because they're selling advertising in theory, so they have a pitch book of why you should buy ads. And if they don't know the answer to this question, then the stock is worth negative $2 a share. I mean, they should be able.
That's what's going to be coming out, I think. Is that basically they wait, look in this hand. No, this hand is behind this mirror. This smoke. This, that.
It'll be like the Theranos when you finally realize, there is no blood test machine here. I think.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
Why do we value this at $20 billion? You know, because she likes to dress all in black, and she's got this weird voice.
What's that?
Elizabeth Holmes.
Oh, Theranos, right.
Wasn't there a male porn star named Holmes? I think there was.
John Holmes.
Related?
I think it's a pretty.
Should we go down fifth or sixth? We haven't. Sixth we haven't done.
Yeah, that's a pretty common name. You know, Susan Holmes was Queen Tut. She's arrested now, in jail for perjury. It's amazing how all these people who lied about me are eventually going to get their comeuppance.
Imagine if they enforced perjury laws against politicians. We have booming business, perjury prison.
Yeah. So let's see, what else did I want to... We've covered a lot of good topics.
Well, we didn't do justice. That's a mega garbage pile.
That's
we
what I'm
didn't do
saying.
justice to the poster.
Well, we mentioned it at the beginning. What would you like to say about it?
Well, we didn't dwell on the fact that, I mean, isn't it a movie or a song or both? Ship of Fools? I mean,
well, Robert Plant has a song.
Ship of Fools? Okay, well, I mean, from Buttigieg, he has this remarkable ability to you know, utter word salads and pretend that he's smart when what he's saying is just nonsense.
Exactly.
It's like was it the Gong Show where they hit you on the head or something?
When they hit a gong if you're no good, and then you lose.
Or what's that Japanese reality TV show? We have to go from.
I don't know.
It's pretty funny. You have to go from obstacle to obstacle, and it's.
Oh well, there's American Ninja.
Yeah, that's it. It's originally a Japanese show.
Somebody who's a viewer of the show had a daughter who was a contestant on that and almost won.
Wow.
Back when there was a lot of viewers.
You got to be pretty seriously athletic to do that.
Yeah, she was some kind of professional athlete. But you know, when there was 120,000 subscribers, Charles, our videos and this information got so much more reach. It really is. It's bad for everybody that this information has been kind of restricted. And I mean, this is the evil doing of these social engineers who are trying to shut down Crowdsource the Truth for their own selfish purposes.
I got an idea, Jason. It probably won't work too well. I'll be back with Mrs. Clockwork Orange. This guy's asleep right here up front. You could do Crowdsource the Malarkey.
Well, Joe Biden would have to be involved.
I know, you could be a celebrity paid spokesperson.
Here's either a broadcast or a active denial system.
You think how many feet would this lady last walking in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, they'd behead her immediately.
You forgot your dress.
So let's see what everybody else. Booty Judge, according to DJ, will probably be the next president.
No.
I really think that would be a terrible situation.
I think, as they say in the South, I think they're fixing to slide Michelle in there. Hillary gave a ridiculous interview where she was savage, worse than Kamala. Well, the other thing Kamala said in that interview on the issue of abortion, she said, I'm the daughter of a woman and the daughter of a granddaughter. And such newsworthy, scintillating opinion. I guess she's a biologist. But she made some comment about, to try to be hip and relevant, she made some comment like, and parents of boys need to understand that eliminating abortion is their lives too. I.e., you can't have sex without consequences, and you can't, have non-stop hookups and not worry about it, which I don't think is the message that a responsible parent would want to be sending. Of course, Kamala has never had, given birth, I should say,
We're getting a lot
children.
of stat.
Kamala married late and is no longer a birthing person, though she takes responsibility for Doug Emhoff's kids. So she's helicopter momming.
What about, what's the bald guy's name?
Which one?
Who she was dating?
Oh, Willie Brown?
No, the TV.
Montel Williams.
Montel Williams, right.
He's the one with, was it MS that he has, or he has?
Does he have that?
Something like that.
I thought you can't walk if you have that.
No, you can walk.
Well, I don't know.
But anyway, on Hillary's interview, I'm rather impressed with Clarence Thomas, given.
Oh, she's saying that he's a rapist, basically.
Well, worse. She got up there. She gave this extended softball interview, which nobody asked her. Hillary, it seems like you and your team definitely attempted to rig the general election in 2016 by paying for this ridiculous dossier, which everybody understood was dirt and put in the FBI. Exactly. None of those questions. So she said that Clarence Thomas is a person afflicted by his grievances.
If you said that on Twitter, you'd be kicked off for racism.
He's angry, right? I mean, and I immediately tweeted out, I didn't say it this way, but I mean, it takes one to know one.
No, but she made some kind of comment or tweet about the future of rapists and how Kavanaugh and Thomas, like implying that they are rapists. Because remember,
and she knows.
That whole thing with the pubic hair on the coke.
Or whatever, the whole thing with Juanita Broderick.
That's what I'm saying. How can she say that when her husband is an actual rapist?
Yeah, her in quotes husband.
And she's there covering it up.
Her Hino, husband in name only.
Right.
Actually, I can't say exactly how I know this, but I know from a reliable source that apparently there's quite a bit of friction between Bill and Hillary right now.
I mean,
it's not like the golden years on Golden Pond right now. The only golden pond they're enjoying is in the toilet.
That is a family where if they weren't in the public eye, now that I'm kind of old, there are people who I know whose parents were divorced when we were little kids, and they were like divorced and they had a second marriage and everything. And then there's people who we thought their parents would stay married forever, and then after college they got divorced. And it's like, oh, wait a minute.
That's standard, actually.
Yes, and that's okay. The kids are adults now. They can deal with this. I hate you. I'm out of here. That is absolutely what Bill and Hillary would be doing if it were not politically undesirable.
But one of the times I was traveling, I was somewhere, I think, in Europe or Asia, and I happened upon an interview that was done of Clarence Thomas. He doesn't do many. And I was really impressed with this guy. I mean, his background was, forget about ethnicity, he was very poor and raised, I think, by grandparents, and somehow decided that he would go to college at Holy Cross as the first African American, I think, at Holy Cross at a time where there were not really warm relations between the Holy Cross alumni and the African American community. So he was a superb student in those circumstances. He punched the lights out in a very difficult environment, got really good grades, and got into Yale Law School legitimately.
How many black people were in Yale Law School at the time that he
went? Not many.
That's what I mean. Why is he not a hero?
Well, Hillary went and said, I knew him at Yale Law School.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. But she's trying to cast aspersions on this towering giant mean, he's really a smart guy. I mean, if you listen to him.
Of course.
And he's thoughtful. He is not a surface level bullshit artist like Kamala Harris or frankly Barack Obama. You know, he takes the really tough issues. People are probably going to say, oh no, he didn't write those opinions. I believe he's very thorough. And when you hear him speak off the cuff, answering questions of college kids and high school kids, really impressive.
Right.
Now, a facet that maybe you'd like doing this, that I also find curious, is that apparently he and Ginny, his wife, remember Ginny interviewed me right before the 2016 election, and the tape is out there, you can see it. I was rather brutal in my assessment of whether the Clintons should be in the White House. I think I said something like, they shouldn't be allowed, I said, live in the White House? They shouldn't be allowed to polish the brass on the doors in the White House.
They should be getting us coffee.
I didn't say that. But anyway, what Ginny and her husband like to do is they either rent or own an RV. And in the summer, they travel around America in an RV.
Some of those RVs are pretty fancy.
I know, but the image of a Supreme Court, okay, the term's over.
Let's go to the RV.
Let's get in the RV. What? Gas is twice as expensive.
I was going to say, could you imagine getting to the gas station and it's like, you look like Clarence Thomas.
Right. But he's probably got, a pair of dice, or like a big single die hanging from his windshield saying FJB on it. Fuck Joe Biden. A whole bunch of those.
You remember the story, I'm sure I must have told you this. In 2017, I was on the train going to see my parents for Passover.
You told me.
And I get up to the vestibule to get off the train, and there's a guy standing there with like a 15-year-old kid. And I said, anybody ever tell you look like Adam Schiff? And he smiles broadly. He says, I am Adam Schiff. And I was like, where's the fucking evidence, you asshole? I started screaming at him on the train, and he was got like all like red, and his eyes were bulging out.
I am shocked. You did that?
I mean, yes. I wish I had a camera at the time.
Was this pre-Crowdsource the Truth? Or?
No. We were definitely doing Crowdsource the Truth at the time, but
Is there a correlation between the incident, the Passover, so that's September? Was that September? was it
Passover coincides with
Easter.
Right.
So, but that's before, then just as you started Crowdsource the Truth, early, or was it?
Yeah, it was April 2017, so very early in
before I met you.
Maybe that's right.
So, I wonder if that's when you went on the list.
I don't know. I think it was before that. This is the safest way to leave your convertible, Charles. With the top halfway up.
No crime around here.
This way no one can steal it, and if it rains, the back seat will...
Well, I think it's probably the purveyors that... Should we walk down 6th or walk down... taking us out of the way, I think.
Well, yeah, no, this way is better, I think. Hey, there's another Candytopia opening over there.
Yeah.
Why do we need that?
And for the life of me, I used to walk up by this 6th Avenue every morning by this park. You'd see these cleaning people pretending to clean the park, and every day it's just filthy.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you just skip the pretense of pretending that you're going to clean this place and just turn it into the shitholi that it...
Well, it's the whatever partnership.
Oh, sure.
34th Street partnership.
Yeah, those are established so that the sanitation patrol doesn't have to do its work.
Right.
No smoking of any kind. Okay.
Right. Well, and no smoking of any kind. Someone will say, well, this is just low-grade weed, so I guess I could smoke it.
I'm not smoking kind.
Yeah, not smoking the kind.
That's what Bill
no
Clinton would say.
smoking chronic.
That's what Bill Clinton
You got to
would
be
say.
specific.
Say, of course I'm not smoking kind.
That watch store went out of business.
What's the giveaway?
What?
Space for rent.
Oh, yeah.
But so Hillary, as usual, was angry, and that Wine Williams.
This kid has had it.
Wine Williams, who is, again, from the pathetically approximate crowd of barely sentient human beings, has a story coming out in the Hill very promptly as the Hunter Biden message and Biden message are escalating, saying Hillary Clinton could be the person who saves Democrats in the 2020 midterm elections. That's the headline of it.
I hope they run it.
Me too. Run, baby, run.
And then just put Trump in there and have DeSantis cool his heels for a couple of years.
Is that Pete Buttigieg?
Yeah. Throwing the beard out.
Yeah. But I tweeted that story out with "the mind is a terrible thing to waste." If you remember that ad, it was all maybe before your time.
I remember that.
Yeah.
But Charles, when do they usually start with the? Not until 23, huh?
The presidential stuff?
Yeah.
Well, they're going to talk incessantly about it now.
But no one will announce that they're running
They'll probably. I don't think anybody will announce. I mean,
except
maybe
Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm running. It's like, dude, you can't even walk.
I'm a candidate for U.S. Senate, which he did do already.
Right, exactly. President Harris.
President Harris has authorized me to run for the Senate.
Oh, what am I doing here?
It'll start the announcement off. Say that you are president of the United States.
You run for president.
Say that you will run for president.
Now, is this a new one?
I don't know.
It's just all weed stores.
Yeah, well, let's get past this assemblage of people who are barely standing. See, here's the 7-Eleven place where you generally have at least one person standing in front of every 7-Eleven in New York.
The concierge, the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, the bum concierge. Vision Zero, not a very smart.
Well, that's about what the cops see. They're looking at their phone.
Too busy on Tinder. Vision Zero. Interest in prosecuting crime, even less. Let's cross to the other side of the street.
Yeah, it's
where
super hot.
Less hot. Can't stand the heat? No, get out of the kitchen. Look at this asshole.
These dudes love to try to run people over. I won't yell at them though.
Thank you, Jason.
So I'm working on putting together another show with John Mark Dugan.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I don't want to reveal yet what it is because it's got the potential to be pretty huge. But that's probably going to be tomorrow.
Isn't that pronounced huge?
Huge. Yeah, Trump was freaking out on Truth Social. I really have a lot of questions about it. Well, that was a pretty near crash right there. I think I mentioned to you that Robert Dead Steele, his stupid attorney, represents stupid Devin Nunes. And Devin Nunes is such an unimpressive individual. It really disappoints me in Donald Trump for hiring him to do anything. When you listen to an interview with this guy, he is so full of wind, bluster, hot air, and nonsense. The software just works badly, Charles. It's not a world-beating application. And they've just announced that the board of directors of the SPAC, Trump World Holdings or whatever it is. What is it, SPAC again?
Special Purpose Acquisition Corporation, SPAC.
So what is that? Like a shell company? Like this is like the type of stuff that sketchy people do business with, right?
Well, it's a sign that you're at the top of the market. So for a long period of time until recently, the good companies were buying back their stock, other companies were going private, so the number of companies that you could invest in disappeared, interest rates went down. People were desperate to do deals, and so they came up with this idea that you would find investors who would agree to give you money to go and buy a company that you haven't identified yet, which is...
Isn't that weird?
It's a sign that the market is at a top, right? I've in the past seen and done studies of what percent... Let's go down this one.
We got the McDonald's progressive flag.
Well, the number of what are called diversifying acquisitions, where you go and you're not already in the media world and you decide to buy a railroad, something that has nothing to do with your core area of expertise. The number of those deals that work is less than 10% typically.
Right.
The idea that somebody who is not currently managing a business is going to...
You mean Nunes?
Anybody connected with a SPAC is going to do a better job running that target, having overpaid for it. You're going to pay more than the target likely was worth at the time. It's just a preposterous idea. But of course, the spin meisters on Wall Street had different ways of selling, incentivizing people to do these deals. And for a time, it looked like they were working until the SEC began to crack down and say, this looks a lot to us like insider trading.
So it's sketchy.
Very sketchy.
Yeah, that's what I thought from reading about it. But they're saying now that the board of directors of that SPAC that is going to take the Truth Social thing or do whatever, they're being
investigated?
Subpoenaed or indicted
that's,
or
again,
something.
I don't think indicted, but investigated.
Subpoenaed for sure.
Yeah. So anytime there's a large transaction involving public securities, there's an investigation. Yes, and you'd be surprised if there wasn't an investigation.
I just remember reading about this SPAC, and I think the stock plunged is what it was saying.
Right.
It's just not a solid company. I mean, it's been around for months, and you can't even send private messages on it. It says, ooh, an exciting private message experience is coming soon. I see Devin Nunes doing interviews of all kinds every day, talking about how great the platform is.
Right.
I see Stephen Biss gaining 100 followers per day when nobody knows who the hell he is, and he's putting nothing on there but inane insults written by an incompetent boob. And I'm, putting our videos that obviously people who are interested in Donald Trump are interested in watching. I can't get past 60, followers. It just doesn't seem authentic.
Probably not. Now, I have a thought for you, Jason. Do you think the business of these plant companies is to send the plants over to the Highline?
Maybe.
Got to come full circle here. We started out around plants, and now here's we got Joe Biden's taking a nap, smoking. Always a strong move.
All right, you're not supposed to smoke in bed. He could set on fire.
I think that would be the least.
He was totally asleep. He could set himself on fire.
Yeah, you don't get in the middle of that.
We're away from it when he starts burning.
There's this kitchen.
Just a
Got
mess.
the bedroom, kitchen.
Just a mess, Charles.
But the city's back. Wonder what de Blasio is doing. Has he formed a brains trust in the hope of finding one?
I mean,
he doesn't have one. He's in brain deficit.
Yeah, I was going to say he probably is trying to hook up with Hunter, score an 8-ball.
Yeah, but the judgment now, I started to say that in the European, a number of minutes back, Joe's over in Madrid, I think, and he was told by Macron, look.
Oh yeah, they got that big NATO meeting.
Well, he was told by Macron, he's making these noises. Europeans are getting kind of scared because they don't have any energy, and they like to stay warm in the cold winter, and you can't talk your way out of that if you don't have the actual electricity and natural gas and petroleum.
Joe Biden was like, are you talking to me?
Well, yeah, they're saying, look, why don't you guys juice up your domestic energy operation and supply
Did
us?
he say that? I heard him say Saudi cannot
He also
produce
said
any
that.
more oil. But he said that. He didn't mean for the public to hear that. And someone called it a hot mic. I don't think so. What looked to me was that somebody had a parabolic mic, which is a long shotgun microphone with one of those dishes to be able to record sound from very far away, like the nature of the quality of the sound. I think that Macron did not intend for the public to hear him say that.
Well, I mean, just going on to the substance of the situation, I have this propensity. I watch you do what you do, and it seems effortless to me. So I assume you can do anything you want to do. So, like Jason, if I said to you, from now on every show, what I like to do, because you're so good at it, let's do an animation about what we're going to say, and then an animation about what happened for every show.
Yeah.
And you'd say, well, we could do that, Charles.
About a staff of 10.
Right. And similarly, if you say, well, we've got severe maintenance issues on our largest field in Saudi Arabia, and you can't just continue to operate like a car that doesn't have water and oil in it.
Right.
You can't say, well,
just turn it on.
Let's use it anyway.
Right.
So it's even worse with these big oil and gas fields. That you have to do preventative maintenance, and the jobs, you go in there and you're stressing out equipment that's
things break.
big and it's hot and adverse conditions. You got sandstorms, you got this, you got that. And it also has a realistic potential to go kaboom if you get it wrong. I mean,
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that people who don't know about things and say just turn it on.
like, you mean like idiot AOC?
Exactly.
I think she's changed her name to IDIOT. I mean,
Well,
she's
actually,
just-
Megyn Kelly had a good response to her, because AOC is saying, oh, we should impeach all these Supreme Court justices for lying under oath. It's like, listen, dummy, they're lawyers. They spoke very carefully. And it's, first of all, I've seen a lot of people lie under oath, and judges just don't even want to talk about it. What those individuals said, I do not believe was a lie, and there's no way you're going to be able to position it as that.
She's really well past her sell-by date and has accomplished nothing positive.
Yeah, she's accomplished.
She's actually, I think she's a very bad example for young women. There are plenty of young women who are incredibly accomplished in whatever field you want to pick. But this is an airhead who was a bartender and probably should go back to doing that. And maybe she could support
It's not
herself.
going to happen. She's going to be in Congress for a long, long time. She's become a brand. But Charles, we are at the end for today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Please become a sponsor on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I don't know if I told you this, Charles, but a malicious, arguably unethical hacker who is a stupid Mario brother has been threatening individuals at Patreon, I believe, not because he has any real legal dispute, but he just wants to put so much pressure on them so that they'll cancel my account.
Right.
So if people are starting new sponsorships, consider joining subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And thank you to everyone who sponsors the show. I'll have more information about John Mark Dugan. Hopefully he's going to be with me tomorrow. And other than that, thank you, Charles. Good luck. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a